Hey, this is Moon. Today I'm going to take a look at Devils.One versus NIP. And this is a match that is from, I believe, ESL Pro League, where Devils.One actually upsets NIP in a best of three, which is pretty interesting. But the interesting thing, actually, I want to highlight is the kind of unique way in which Devils.One plays CT Mirage. And weirdly enough, I want to say this is VP-esque. Because they do a lot of stacking. They actually completely abandon bomb sites very often. You're going to notice on this round, this is the first gun round of the half. They have completely abandoned a site. This is a completely dead area to them. What they're going to do is they're going to play one ladder, they're going to play two guys window, and they're going to play one on cat. So I wish I could read into whether or not there's some counter-stratting going on, but I would say that this is actually to do with the common strat that you see often nowadays, which is because NIP won the pistol round, you're going to notice that they're on weaker guns here. The most common strat that you see constantly spammed out, and I'm thinking that you might see kind of counter, like, 3 layers deep 4D chest at this point. Smoke off get right, smoke off get left, smoke off window, flashes over, 2 Mac 10s, swing wide on the bomb site. This fast B execute that people run, the B rush execute, because that is so played out now, I'm thinking this setup might actually be specifically, partially at least, to counter that specific setup. You can double window on first gun round with 2 guns because they realize that there's probably not an op on the T side, given that they won pistol, lose pistol, win pistol. If you're buying up on third round, probably neither team has an op, which means doubling with the AUGs in window can probably net you a lot of kills, and you're countering the B setup. So it's just kind of an interesting play. You don't see a lot of teams do this type of thing. Where they completely give up a site, and you're going to notice that Devils, they don't care about A. I believe for the majority of this round, they have this is a very common setup with slight modifications. So the most common setup that you're going to see teams run into or turn into on CT side now is exactly what they have now, except with this player here on the A side. So this is very common. You have an opper looking down towards bottom con. You have the rifler in this corner here. And what this rifler does is if they smoke top con, he'll move his way and he'll get into here some of the time, balancing your range. Some of the time he'll get in there. Other times they'll give up con. Really depends. But they have this ladder guy that covers towards middle or window. They have the opper making sure nobody can run down mid or up cat, so he's kind of covering the ladder guy. This guy is making sure that nobody can run up on the opper, and the A guy is just making sure nobody can run out A. However, instead, they have a cat guy, and this is going to mean that they can play much more aggressive towards middle later on into the round when they want, and they're just playing a straight-up retake on A. Now, they are retaking with no kits and only a couple of smokes, so this is kind of a dire retake, and the fact that Nip goes B is very good for them. But again, you can see they're completely giving up A. You can watch it on the radar. They are not caring about A at all, playing complete retake on it. And the B hit's going to come out, and they're just going to shut it down because they essentially have, look at this. Okay, not only do they have, ladder, get left, or pillar, whatever you want to call it, site, they had a fast rotate because he was already in window, and as soon as those nades came out, he made his way into market. They have 4, like 3.5 B, because the ladder guy's not quite B, but this guy's going to be able to get out and get behind site before the execute comes in. You have these 2 players, so this is a round that they should never lose, and this is obviously fairly gambly, and I love that actually. Some on Mirage, a map where you can definitely retake the A bomb site fairly easily. Playing gambly on the map is not that bad of an idea, especially when you have low utility. This is the reason I think third round buy-ups are kind of falling out of favor, because you have to play somewhat gambly. Because you have so low utility, you probably don't have a full buy-up. You have to play somewhat gambly to actually deal with it, and this is an interesting way to do it. But you're going to see Devils loves to play gambly the entirety of the half. You're going to see the very next round, they're going to do something cool again. They're going to double up window. They like to go like this 2 towards window thing. They're not going to double up in window this time, but they're just going to double up towards it. And they're going to play. This is more of a standard-ish setup. So I would say this is more on the standard sides of the setups. However, what they do is they go down 4v4 because the window guy dies, and they're going to completely give up B side. And they're going to boost up, and they're going to play similar to what they did the previous round with 3B and 2 of them being cat. They have 2B and both of them are cat because they know they're getting pressured towards A. And this is the type of rotation paths I like to see. So what you saw was Manice here. Taz shot at window with the AUG. I'm guessing he thought they might be saving since they won the last round. That's why he was playing so aggressive mid. He got killed immediately. His teammate, who went through window to go towards Con, went back and tried to pressure in middle. And I believe it was the CTA player that got a kill over there. So what he did was he tried to pressure mid with a flash over. Then he grabbed the gun, and he actually made his way back through CT. So they're going to double up CT here and double up cat. So this is the type of thing where they have some pressure on middle. They have a pretty good hold on A in terms of ability to retake. And they're giving up B because they're thinking to themselves that because there was so much pressure in middle, they saw 3 or 4. They're just accepting that they're not going to go straight to B. If they do, they're splitting up cat. Will take down the cat split. More likely they're going A because you don't take full mid control with 3 or 4 players and then go and walk out apartments. That's going to take some time to get back there. So they're just doubling up cat. And the idea here is when you go for a retake on A, you need 2 CT and you need 2 jungle. Right? So if you have, you don't need 2 CT and 2 jungle. You need control of jungle and you need control of CT to have an effective retake that wins the majority of the time. So these cat guys are going to be able to try and contest for jungle control. Now, Rollins actually going to end up dying to Lekro from Connector here, but their A side of the map is doing very well, and because Mouse is actually on cat, Lekro should never really expect this. He's actually got his back completely turned, but I think he still manages to find the kill, even though he had his back turned. So this is some awareness from Lekro. But the setup itself, again, is very interesting. They completely gave up B as soon as they got pressured. And this isn't like a crazy play. It makes logical sense if you think it out. It's just most people and, a lot of teams don't really run this type of thing. Now, NIP could have potentially lurked a guy out B apps, and this is something you'll see some higher level teams do. They recognize that rotate off B comes out somewhat often, and again, playing back at the play that people often make, they will often lurk a guy out B in these late round scenarios because they recognize people like to rotate off B. But just trying to give you a bit of a deeper understanding of exactly what's going on here. And that's the reason they're doing these things. Now they've gone down 2v3, so Manice knows he needs to get aggressive. He's going to try and find a kill, and he's not going to be able to find it. But the idea is good. I like that, some teams have a tendency to turtle when they go down a man, especially lower level teams. Not that this is a lower level team, but it's not a tier 1 team. And especially non-tier 1 teams do that a little bit more often. But the goal is to get more aggressive when you go down men, because you need to get more picks to get yourself back into the round. So heading into the next one, I believe this is the very next gun round. And Devils is going to go for a mid push. It's a little bit different of a mid push because most teams will double up the mid push. They'll have 2 here and 1 window. But Devils prioritizes these 2 players in window spamming through the smoke to try and create room for the 1 player running up mid to find kills. So it's just a little bit different of a look. It's kind of interesting, but in any case, Taz is going to get traded here. Again, they have nobody B. This guy's pushing right up cat. I would love to know if there was some counter-stratting here. Do they know that NIP doesn't like to run B players? But they rotate this window guy back towards B, and you're going to notice as this window player gets towards B, that's when the smoke B goes down, and they have a tendency to rotate that guy B. They often give it up, but they're going to rotate that guy B to get there as that smoke goes down, and just basically assume that nobody's hitting towards B before that smoke goes down. But the other thing you're going to see that's very interesting here is Devils, they want to get this mid control. Rollin's going to stay here towards window for a very long time, and you actually have, this is Mao's towards ladder. So Mao's is making sure nobody's pushed up towards mid. He can pressure from Cat towards top middle to support Rollin at some point if he needs, and Rollin's just waiting for the smoke to go down. This is his own one-way that he's waiting for it to go down. The one-way basically, tries to get people to spam it, tries to draw attention. Smoke's going to go down, and he's just going to peek out middle and try and find information. You notice he waits for Lekro to back off. So he notices Lekro's making noise. And when that guy stops making noise, that's the time when they're usually backing up into an execute. Because, this guy is either making his way into con so he can lurk out towards A and get an A execute off, or he's going underpass so they can work out towards B. It's usually one or the other, or maybe staying in middle. But when that guy goes quiet, Rollin waits a little bit. He waits, and then he's gonna go for the mid peak. Actually, he's starting to go for it. Then there's a molly in mid, and then he goes for it in the molly. So he catches the perfect timing. If you can catch a molly like that, that's exactly how you grab kills. People don't usually molly and then stare at it for a few seconds. So he grabs the kill there. Mao's is in ladder, and the fact that his teammate just got pressured in middle, he's unlikely to be looked at, and Rollin really wants to force this pressure. He's going to wait again. He recognizes that NIP, look at the time, 35 seconds, NIP has to rotate back into something. So they're either rotating back through underpass, or and hitting towards B, or they're rotating back and going towards A, which is exactly what they're doing. So he's going to spot off top mid, nobody's mid. And he's just going to drop underpass and go for the B flank, which is kind of an interesting play. Now, there's nothing saying nobody's in mid at this time. However, when you only have 3 players, lurking one of 3 players is a little bit less common than one of 4, because your main hit is going to be stronger if you have 3. And 2 players can sometimes just get killed and you instantly lose the round. But in any case, he's taking the risk. He's saying, they're probably regrouping, going somewhere. He's just rotating through underpass, and you're going to see the rotate's going to start to come in here. The one thing you're going to notice is Duha. This is how people have called him that I have heard. Forrest can actually see him here. I'm not sure everybody's aware of this, but these boxes in A, this box, and default, people can see the tip of your head over this if they're standing on flat ground. They don't actually need to be above to see you. So they can see him here, and this is how they saw him. They saw him with this exact same position, and he's just getting naded out. So just for future reference, they can see your head over default. And you're going to notice, if anybody ever plants and then stands up, you can see their head over default from jungle. In any case, the A side execute comes out, but because Rollin had instantly dropped underpass, he's on the quick flank. He's going to catch Forrest off guard, and now Get Right's just going to get traded under Balk. So again, a very interesting and aggressive way to play, and this is why I say it's very Virtus Pro-esque. This is the type of stuff you would see from Virtus Pro, that type of in-your-face aggression, and that type of in-your-face aggression is the type of stuff that gets you round wins if you're on point. So, if you're having a good game, if you're having an on day, that's the type of reason that you had, the patented Virtus plow. But in any case, now Devils is going to go. They recognize that NIP has accepted that Devils was playing a retake on A in the previous 2 rounds. And both the previous 2 rounds, NIP found the information that they were auging CT, which signals retake A. And now Devils is going to try and play a stacked A setup with, just a solo B. They really like these kind of semi-gambles, accepting that, if they might just lose the round if the wrong setup comes out. And they're actually going to lose the round on their A stack. Because the first player dies there, you could see that these players earlier wanted to aggress. If both players A stayed alive, so if you had Taz alive and you had the player Firebox alive, Devils can force through and they can try and get sandwich control. They can try and get a player here and they can try and get through jungle. Obviously this jungle spot gets mollied off a lot, but if it's not mollied, they can try and force through and fight against them as they take the site. But because someone already died, they're just going to play it passively and allow, Taz to play from ninja spot here and try and get multi-kills, but he's not. And the force through from Manise while they're trying to catch them while they're distracted doesn't end up working out, so they just end up losing this round. But you can see it's an interesting idea, and it's a smart play timing wise, because NIP has just seen twice now that Devils was playing a retake A setup. So now they're going to go into what you would see as a more default setup. This is the type of setup you would expect. Now, you wouldn't necessarily expect Taz to be walking straight up middle. Usually your connector player plays, towards connector, but it's not unheard of. It's not uncommon for the connector player to push up middle. He's got support from Manise with the op and window, and this is the more standard of setups that they've played. So they've just got the back-to-back setup or face-to-face setup, depending on how you want to say it. Taz is going to get some information. He's going to get a trade, which is something you're going to expect somewhat often. And they're going to go into a somewhat standard setup. Again, this is the other setup. So late round, getting an op or ticket booth, this is how... I'd say mid-2018, this was the meta. You get your opper here where Duha is. You get him on ticket, and you get a rifler that's either under Balk or close ramp or on Balk, somewhere around there. Occasionally default, but not that often. And this opper can control a lot from right up here on top of ticket, but they're actually going to do the exact opposite. So Manise is going to go for information towards Con. Nothing's there. And he's actually going to be the one that falls back and posts on Palace. And it's going to be Duha that plays towards ticket and plays on it with the AUG and plays for information. So this is a more standard of setups. You play one jungle, one ticket, and one A and one B. And the execute's going to come out. What you notice is Mao's had his flash out there. So if I rewind a little bit. So Mao's had his flash out here. And this is a flash that, generally it's actually pretty good to know. You pull it out and you look up. If you just flash right over here, that's going to land just above and behind triple right about here. And that's a great flash to flash for your teammates. But in any case, he's not going to end up throwing it. They're just going to rotate 3 through CT. So I mentioned earlier that one jungle control and CT control is all you really need to be able to retake A. It doesn't really matter too much how many you have in either area, as long as you have control of both. And this is the force out CT strat. Works incredibly well. The jungle guy just keeps jungle control, makes sure they're not getting pressured from jungle too easily. And once they smoke off connector, the round's essentially over. So what you're going to notice is there's often kind of two strategies to retake on an A bomb site. You can let them get the bomb plant, get into after plants, and try and do like a coordinated retake with smokes and nades, or you can force out quickly after as the bomb is planted before they can get into those after plant spots, and that's exactly what Devils did there. And you're going to notice that Dennis was not yet to connector, so they only had that was a 3v2 or a 3v3 where for sure the bomb planter's right here, and the other players are not quite set up in their after plant spots yet, and they caught him off there. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped.